Well, I can tell you that people inside had a very different feeling about the first year before last night. Last night was really sobering for Republicans because there was this idea that they could navigate around Trump, that they could embrace sort of Trumpiness without Trump himself. You saw last night with the depth of the shellacking, like you're not going to be able to do that. And so looking ahead, they're worried about tax reform, that a lot of lawmakers are going to be more shy about it, that they don't feel like the president having their back is going to be the insurance policy that they thought.
So how do you handicap tax policy at this point? Tax reform, tax cutting?
Harder. And the Republicans will come out, and what the White House will tell you is now people realize the urgency of it even more. But this is a member-to-member, senator-to-senator decision. Like what they've told us, like the way to be smart about tax reform is that like the big speeches and the big ideas don't matter. That, as your viewers know, the fine print is what matters.
It matters to your constituents. What's going to happen to your constituents? Actually, are they going to pay higher or lower taxes?
And your donors, and every piece of fine print like makes such a difference. So it makes it much harder to handicap and also harder to pull out. The way one person put it to me is, we talk about healthcare being 1/6 of the economy, tax reform, the whole damn thing.
Mike, you weren't saying that they realize that they can't keep Trump at arm's length. By saying that, you weren't saying that Gillespie could have won if he embraced Trump. That's what the president's take was. I don't know whether he could have or not. I don't think in Virginia that Gillespie was going to win no matter what. Just given the, I mean, that's a tough state for Republicans right now. For whatever the demographics have changed, and for a swing state, that's a tough one. And he lost by 5, but this guy won by like 11, didn't he? So that's telling, I think, right there.
Yeah, no, the margins were astonishing. And the takeaway from it is anytime that you run as someone you're not, like that catches up to you sooner or later. And Ed Gillespie, who's a textbook establishment Republican, like I live in Virginia, like the ads made it sound like Virginia was like being overrun by marauders.
But we didn't even know who Northam was. He was like different things to different people at different times, right? I mean, he was all over the place. He was like much more conservative a couple of years ago, wasn't he?
Like that's yes, and but he benefited from that. That because the action was on the other side. That because like all of this was the middle finger to Trump. It was Northern Virginia last night on your air, Steve Kornacki calling it the revenge of the suburbs. Like this is Northern Virginia, like
which has gotten bigger and bigger and more populous.
That's almost part of the Beltway, isn't it? I mean, really. I mean, that almost qualifies, doesn't it? They're almost.
Oh, sure. No, it's much of it is literally inside the Beltway. Sure.
They almost are in the, you know. I mean, the air is different there that they're breathing, I think, right?
Yes, and outside the Beltway in a little place called America. So you have these worries for Republicans. But here's the other important thing to remember is that because the Trump base in Trump states are sticking with him, that amazing NBC Wall Street Journal number showing that if you're a Republican, you voted for Trump in the primary, and you voted for him in the general. 98% of you are still with him. And so he's going to be able to point to numbers like that, and he's not going to change. He's not going to listen. But it has donors to the Republican Party really worried that they're looking ahead to Speaker Pelosi.
Let me ask you a separate question. We just talked about this being the 1-year anniversary since he was elected. The next 1-year anniversary is coming up, which is him as president, and that often is a time when staffers, the people around him, there's usually the first-year group, some of whom leave. And then there's usually a change sometimes. Do you see a big change happening around him? Is that expected, and what's going to happen?
This is a massive problem for the administration because, as you know, the administration was never properly staffed. Not even the West Wing, the department, like so many people tell us they don't know who to call at Treasury. They don't know who to call at the State Department. The West Wing was never filled out the way it was. Now, you're right, you're coming up on January, you'll be a year. Even in the rosiest administration, you'd have people at that point cycling out. This time you have people even more anxious to leave, likely to have a change at Secretary of State, likely to have some changes in the West Wing. Who wants to come in? Like, it's not only the fact that so many Republicans who you normally would want, don't want to be associated with Trump, but now you have this massive legal liability. Anybody who goes in faces potential legal bills. Now, if you're in the West Wing, you're wondering if the person you're talking to is wearing a wire. Like, there's many former administration campaign officials who could be cooperating, and you always wonder. It makes it impossible to focus on what you're supposed to be doing.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.